Welcome back, beautiful people. This is another episode of An Untold Narrative. This is actually the first time I've had a guest on that I've previously worked with directly at the same organization. So it has been almost well over 5 years, maybe 6, 7, 8, almost 8. Yeah, a long time since I've seen you. Defne and I shared an unbelievable experience in Italy together working for Vibram in our past lives, and which we'll talk about. Defne, welcome to the show. Thanks for spending some time with us. How are you doing? Where are you?
Thank you very much. I'm really flattered that you are, interviewing me, and your podcast is great. And I am watching you in all aspects, and you already became, but you're still becoming, like a brilliant person. Other than a good entrepreneur, like that's the most important. I am watching your personal growth, and
Thank you.
and the effort that you are putting in that, right?
Thank you
Which
for saying that.
learning and sharing and pushing others and motivating others, so everything falls into place. So I'm here in Italy now, in Milan, since 2001, because originally I'm from Istanbul. I'm Turkish. And I studied back then. I was graduated from the fine arts faculty, textile design, and I wanted to have like possibility to go to Europe and study or do something. And then Domus Academy, which is a good design school here, had this international scholarship competition. And I think that was the year that I really wanted to exit from everything that I had in my life back then, because if you're in your comfort zone and you're okay, you're never gonna make a real push out, right? So I needed to exit for several reasons, that I didn't feel like belonging there. It was kind of, like too straight, too tight for me. I wanted to see what is, like in the other, like in Europe, and Italy was like always my dream country. And then I heard about this thing, and I really worked hard. Like in 3 weeks, I made a whole collection. I sent it, and I won the first prize. So that's
Wow.
that's the full scholarship that they were giving just to one person, and that was the winner.
Oh my God, that's I didn't know that. So
Yeah.
you designed a full collection, submitted it to this competition in the hopes of just winning and being able to come over to Italy, and it happened?
Yes. Yes, it did. It's incredible, right? I still have goosebumps. And I was like, when I was sending it, I remember I even forgot the whole project in the copy center. I had
Oh
it
my
all
God.
printed out, and I'm talking about 2000, like at the end, like it was like the autumn of 2000, and I had them printed, like on laser, good paper, and it was like a project like that on fashion design, on clothes. And I even forgot it, and I went to the other side of Istanbul, and then I turned back and I took it, and it was like the last minute of UPS of the last day. And I said, you know what? I have to win this. Don't make me be the second on the third, because then my father will try to get a loan to, like kind of pay the rest of it, because it was just a half scholarship. And I don't want the half scholarship. I got to win this. And I felt that it was okay. And then I won it, and I went to Italy. That's where it started. After like 3 years, I did the master's on fashion design and marketing. And then like I worked, like somebody was calling and I was sketching, and I couldn't find a job directly, like in a good company, because you need to know people in Italy. It's
Mhm.
not like the US where there's meritocracy, like you would send your CV, people would even reply you. It doesn't happen. It's not their culture. So it's not very accessible if you don't have really like environment and people, a network of people. So
Mm.
I couldn't
So
find it.
yeah, so you win this competition, you go over, you study, you move to Italy, and then you encounter a couple hurdles of not knowing many people. I assume you didn't speak Italian.
After
And so
one
how
year,
did
yes,
you
I did. In a year, I learned Italian.
In a year you learned Italian. So how did you kind of overcome that after the education part? Like how did you end up finding your first job in design?
Yeah, it has been really difficult because I was, like kind of freelancing maybe for Turkish companies who needed research and trends and some sketches. I sketched for a designer who didn't have the hand, like back then the freehand sketching was much more valuable. Like you don't have all the technology right now. So I was like really doing the sketching part and then here and there, and I was trying to like kind of work also like without any like it wasn't even official. So in the end, somebody that I know called me that his friend who is Trond Sonergren, that him, Trond, like he was my boss. So he called me and then he said, we are looking for a figure, a designer who will take care of the fashion, like the dress and casual part of the job because we are all guys, like we need somebody who has kind of more fashion eye and who would be, like happy to do that. And I didn't know what was Vibram. I had
Mm.
no idea about soles. I never did any footwear. So I just went there with my fashion portfolio and they just hired me.
But it's cool that it worked out because they were specifically seeking out somebody for dress and casual, which did correlate with your fashion expertise. And so, but I agree with you because when I joined Vibram too, I also didn't know what it was or who they were or how much product they did. And because back then you're just looking for a job, you need to get paid, you want to be a designer, and you'll pretty much, try to apply your skill set to any organization.
Mm.
But we were talking a little bit offline. You ended up spending 12 years, so well over a decade at Vibram. So it was a good thing that your friend called you and you took the job. What was talk about your experience there because a decade plus is a long time at any organization. It'll really transform your career. You'll learn a lot. And so what were some of the pivotal moments for you during your time there?
Yeah, I think the first period was learning because I'm not coming from, like an industrial design background, which would be, I think, more suitable for this job because it's very 3D, it's very technical, and it was completely something new. And I remember I'm a Capricorn, I'm really very determined. There is no way that I'm not delivering the job, there is no way that I'm showing that I'm desperate. So, work is my thing. So, and I said, okay, when I saw the blueprints, laying on the table and I said, what the hell is this? And I was just looking and it was like an enigma, like I couldn't understand the thing and it was like panic. I remember I went to the ladies' room and I was crying because after some weeks, even like after a month, and I said, like I don't think I'm, like will be ever be able to do this job because, like I am not a technical person, which when we talk about, like the limiting beliefs, this is a limiting belief that I had because I had a brother.
Mm.
I have a brother who is very, very intelligent, high IQ, and, like very into maths and science, which I was more like a language girl. And I had other skills and I was very good at drawing. So I was the artistic one. So, which kind of made me believe all my life that I was the dumber, like I was not the intelligent one in the family. So I just accepted this role
Mm.
and I said, like I need to be more technical. I need to understand from the 3D stuff. It's not me. I'm artistic and whatever. But there has been that moment, which I'm very grateful to the people in Vibram. They really helped me. My boss he was too busy so he couldn't, but I find my way, like asking people all the time. So now when I'm teaching soul design, I always tell people, please, like team up with the technicians, team up with the
Mm.
technicians, never leave them, out of the, like be humble. Every time in every soul that I designed, I always ask a technician if everything is fine. Yeah, afterwards, some things so you don't need to ask. But they helped me a lot. My designer colleague, in that moment was Andrea. He was the only one, he was really eager to show me what he knows, so he wasn't jealous about his know-how, which is a great thing, right? So
Yeah,
that's
I mean, I know this because I lived it, but your point on the technicality of what that work was. So it's one thing to just create and draw and design, but it's another thing to apply that, beautification of something that's really technical when you have to understand how something's cut in half, right? Which a lot of people on this planet don't understand. And so then you have to try to imagine how it's going to go up and down and left and right, and still try to create something beautiful. And so I understand that struggle. And I remember, to share with the audience, like my first trip over to the headquarters, and, with you and Andrea, sitting around the table, you are beautiful hand drawers, some of the best in the world, right? Like world class hand drawers. And I'm not a good hand drawer. And so
I mean, yeah,
it's like there's,
I will not be humble about that. I had 5 years of academic drawing university, so I am really proud of that. And I sometimes I will talk about that later on. This technology thing, it kind of really hurt my ego as a designer, and I was like, shit, now my ability is, like zero. No way. And it's not actually,
no,
even
it's
design.
definitely not.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's definitely not like that. Though the other thing that you mentioned, Daphne, which I think we should talk about, is like the humbleness to have to ask for help and to interact with people. I think one thing, we have a lot of creatives who listen to this podcast, and one thing that was really great about the job and the role is that you had the factory attached to it. So whether it's talking to the technician or understanding how the product is made and interacting with those people to understand the feedback. And so, how it's actually made so you can create a better product. And so, is there an experience that you had in your time, like, whether it's traveling to China or working on a product or a technology that, that you love or look back on in your career that you're like, fuck, I'm proud of that?
yeah, I think being able to access everywhere, since you are like a component supplier company, like all the brands were opening their doors to us, right? So that's, if
Hmm.
you work for a footwear brand, that's not going to happen. You will always be there in that style, and you will not be able to access to other footwear brands. Whereas we, as Vibram designers, we could access the brands, we could access to the factories, we could access to the material people. Like, you are the one who is in the middle, who is taking the production guys to the brand. Like, kind of, you're always welcomed, and which
Hmm.
also gives you the possibility to be, if I'm designing for Clark's, I'm going to be their style. If I'm designing for Armani, I have to go there. And if I'm designing for Merrill, which I did not do dress and casual all the time, it was just 20% because it's not a core business. So I did all of the soles, everything that you can imagine, from motorcycling to safety to trekking, whatever, just like you. So there is a big variety of challenges. Even if people tell me, it's always a sold, it's always a sold, it's, but yeah, but like, every project has a different style, has a different request, has a different functionality,
Yep.
and also trying to understand the style of the client, and still coming up in that little area, coming up with something fresh.
Uh, yeah, I think that's a super valuable point. I always reflect back on the time, and it's like it was some of the most challenging work, right? Because you have to think outside the box, in these different environments for these different consumers, for the different, whether it's safety for anti-slip and things like that, and apply, creativity to these very functional environments. And it was so challenging, but it made every single day unique. And I think that's kind of the fun of it. I do want to talk about, you've been, um, now on your own. And so you left Vibram after a long time, and then you decided to start your own, let's call it a
Yeah.
creative agency, and to really lean in on yourself and your technical abilities. What's that process been like? Because a lot of people think about, or they see online, and they see people working for themselves and how amazing it looks, or oh, you work for yourself, you're your own boss, you don't have to listen to anybody. What are some of the pros and some of the cons for that moment? And then do you ever think that you'll work for anybody else? So I threw in a couple questions there, but I'll let
Yeah,
you go
yeah,
with
yeah.
it how you want.
I will try to wrap it up shortly. Okay. What happened after 12 years? It started, let's say, the last 3 years was the suffering. Okay. Not because of the company. I will never talk, like bad about where I ate. So it's a company, it's corporate. You have people there, right? Because the company is it doesn't exist, right? We know that. It's just something abstract and it is made of people. So you can get along with people, you can be nourished by them for a certain amount of time. So there were a couple of things that one was there was no road for growth. So they made it very clear that this is where I could arrive and there was no other possibility to grow because I wanted to go to more to finished product. And I was really another thing that I was really fed up with souls. Okay. I said
Mm,
I was 40 and I said I had the 40 each also, but it started like before. And I said, like if I'm not doing this now, I'm gonna retire from Vibram. It's not about the
mm,
company, it's about being there for such a long time for a designer is not a good thing at all. That's not my spirit, that's not my soul. I embraced who I am. It took lots of courage because I had nothing in the horizon. Nobody knew about this plan other than my family and my very close ones, which gave me the support, actually, mostly my brother, who is the intelligent one, right? So
yeah.
he told me, like, what are you going to lose? I mean, how much do you have so that you can live, like with what you're going to get from the company? I said, maybe a couple of years if I'm really tight. So do you think, he said, a person like you with all the background, English, Turkish, Italian, you are talented. You came up until here alone. Do you think that in 2 years you cannot build up anything and eat all that money and then be broke and sleep under the bridges? I said, no, that's not the scenario that I am even thinking. So what's the deal? And I just turned my head on. And of course, I'm a single mom. So I have a mortgage and I have a kid to raise. Even the father exists and he gives a hand, but it is still a very big responsibility, right? You are not single and on your own. So you have a family. But then before that, of course, there is the long um, road of self healing, which is, I think, goes together hand in hand with that. So very like a couple of years that I had this very intentional. I took the courses. It was about aligning your inner selves, knowing them, embracing them, know who you are. We still have our limiting beliefs, but be conscious about those and not let them, like take the steer and then, like direct you. And it has been a very, like long and not easy road of self healing. And after that, I remember I meditated for 6 months every day after lunch in Vibram.
Holy
That
cow.
was really like the win-win year also. And the moment that I resigned, it was just after the holidays, August holidays. I went there, I resigned, and they said, we can make you propose. I said, stop, it's finished. Nothing to do with you. Don't make me a proposal. Don't say anything. It's just, like it's over. So no resentment, nothing negative. It has been all really smooth. And I went to Linea Pelle, the component fair in Italy, And I said to a client of Vibram, which I really like him, like we have a good connection. And I said, like I resigned from Vibram. I will not be here. Really? Where are you going? Nowhere. I'm just gonna, like freelance. And I want to design shoes. And he said, okay, let's work together. And I was like, really? And this is Zamberlan is my, like base client, which I am doing all their style. So this is just to say, David, when you align with what you really want, without any
Mm.
compromise, without a B plan, which you are really serene about, that you're over, you came over the fear. The fear is not there anymore. So you're just in the zero,
Mm.
right? You're just floating and say, life, take me and do what you want. Like, I want this. I'm putting my heart to that. I will put all my energy to push something that's mine, which is authentic, which is of my spirit. So it just went so smooth that you cannot imagine.
Yeah, I think you're right. When you put all of your energy into one thing, specifically being the focus yourself and what you believe in, then good things will happen and you apply yourself. And so even taking that leap of faith, resigning, going to a fair, talking to people that you've known for years and years, and then getting work out of it unintentionally, and that's really the beautiful part of it. It sounds like there have been, obviously with freelancing, there's ups, there's downs.
Yes.
Um, so speaking to present day, right? Like, how is the business going? Like, are you happy? Right? Like, I think that's such an important key feature for anybody listening of like, there's pros and cons to corporate life, right? Like if you're the
Yes.
type of person who likes, coming in, doing a job, being here's your list of things to do and go execute it. There's nothing wrong with that either. But then there's the other side of the people who want to do more. They want to grow, as you mentioned earlier. But then there might be some challenges in that growth. And so, today, being multiple years into your own business, can you say that you're happy and you're excited to wake up every day? Where are you today?
Absolutely. My life changed 100% when I went freelancer. But then I tell you, since it went smooth, I didn't have that rocky road in the beginning because I was still doing consultancy for Vibram, for the owner, and I was doing his
Mm.
personal projects. And it gave me a stability because, like we had a good contract, yearly contract. It gave me a stability for almost 3 years. And then it just, like I'm not going to get into details, but it's gone. Okay, that's something that was there. It just accompanied me to make a soft and smooth transition from having the wages every month to real entrepreneur freelance person who has to, like catch the client and make new
Mm.
stuff. But I can say that I'm 100% very happy about the where I am now. The business in 2022 and the first part of 23 has not been good, but it has been very good in 20 and 21, just right in the pandemics. It has been
Mm.
really like I had the record number of projects and I worked like crazy. And then 22, it just stopped. So there, it was the first time that I understood what it means, like not having the super stability. But the con is, of course, freedom, having different projects. So everything is exciting. I am excited to wake up in the morning. This is like the pro thing. The con thing is that building the self discipline, which is really hard for me. So that's why I am in a co-working place where just 5 people. I cannot work from home, no way. So I created myself a studio with other people. It's beautiful. It's in the center of Milan. So I wake up, I put my dress on, and I go to work.
That's
Today,
awesome.
today I just stayed home because I was a bit tired. It's too hot and whatever. So I just can decide. That's it. Like
Yeah, I mean, I think I appreciate the transparent story, right? Because it's not all rainbows and butterflies, right?
no,
Like
not at all.
you said you had the up year with like a ton of projects. I overworked. Then you have a down year, and you're like, and now you're okay, maybe today I'm a little bit tired. Maybe today I'm not feeling it. I need to respect that and I need to take a step backwards. And so maybe I won't go into the office today. And that's really the balance that people I think have to figure out for themselves and what works best for their lifestyle. As you move to the future, and if you think about the future at all, is there something that you haven't accomplished yet that you want to accomplish? Because you've obviously we've talked about it with working with Vibram, you get to work with so many different brands, so many different, specialty fields. And then obviously, your freelance work, you have Zamberlin, which is your client, and are good friends with Nicolene from the footwearists, and like, you're very tied into the industry. Is there anything that you haven't accomplished yet that you want to accomplish in the future?
Yeah, thank you for this question. Actually, I have the teaching also, which is very important for me. I want to continue with that because I'm teaching in Arsutoria, which is a professional footwear design and pattern making school. I teach there soul design. I teach in Instituto Europeo del Design, is a university. So I am like an external teacher that we make the projects with the second year students. And then I have my online course, which is a super professional one, like 15 or 17 hours of course, where I design and everything. It has been the most challenging thing in my life, but it's there. And what I want to do is, actually, I'm not a workaholic, David. I'm going to say that I don't have very big dreams like having a super studio and having, lots of people to manage. And no, 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 no. I'm really happy with my dimension, which is not, like, I don't need all that labels to become rich and then super success. And, I really like to have my time. I really don't want to feel anxious all the time. I'm not a super calm person. I go up, like really, like a tornado. So I know myself. There's still some healing to do. I need to have time for that also. But I have my projects, which are still on footwear.
Hmm.
Which I would like to maybe start to shift, like an addition. I want to do some high heels for women who have feet like me, which is, like really very wide on the metatarsal area, but they are not overweight feet. Okay. So they are
Hmm.
like skinny, but very, like really open in the metatarsal area. And we are like millions of women like that. And we just cannot have a stiletto, a pump, which is, like normal feet women can wear. So I have like three sizes of difference from length to the width of the girdle, like is different, which when you look at it you don't see, but that in footwear millimeters count. So
Right.
and the new generation coming up with very, like healthy barefoot shoes when they're toddlers, and now we are always on sneakers. And these women, they'll grow up, they will be 30, they want to wear their high heels, and they will not have the thing, which is like, so I have this project. I would love to not procrastinate it all the time. So I would
So
learn.
is that project is for you to do your own line of high heels under your own brand?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, that's cool. Well, thank you
that's
for
the
sharing
dream.
that. Yeah, I love that idea.
It's an inclusive high heel project. Now I have spoiled it, but I think it's important to sometimes, in my case, to let people that I am kind of moving, because when I do that, believe me, this is not spiritual. This is energetic. When I, like get up and start to, like share my project with some people, just like people just, I know this, you can do the heel in 3D. I'm a 3D designer. Why don't we collaborate? And then comes the factory, and then comes the person, like it's kind of the dots appear so that you can connect them. So
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think putting things out there, speaking them into existence is a
typical.
real thing. Yeah, it's very very real. So, thanks for sharing that. I'm stoked for you. I'm excited. Hopefully, you don't procrastinate forever, and it becomes a reality.
Procrastinator. That's why I'm listening to Mel Robbins all the time.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
She's great. Um, is Is there anything I'm curious, like what your favorite thing you've ever designed is, like out of all your time in the industry, at all the different projects. Is there one shoe, one sneaker, one sole, whatever that stands out to you as like this is my favorite?
I think it's the Zamberland's approach shoe salate that I have made with like all the triangles, like floating, which is a design that was very challenging for the brand, who is very very traditional. So I think there we could, like break something, and that's why it's important to me. And I also love the kids project that I did. It's a balance bike sneaker for air kids, which is a startup brand from Switzerland. Is a guy who is a bicycle engineer, and he just wanted to have the great shoe for balance biking, and I really enjoyed that. I really loved that product. So I think these
Wow,
two,
those are
and if we go back to Vibram, I think the rock sole that I designed, which one? The hybrid, the hybrid track. It's called, yeah,
yep.
the hybrid one. I think that has been kind of a success. So
Yeah, for
it's
sure. Definitely success. Also the plump sole, which is
yeah.
been taken over the industry, I think, recently. So
It's so old,
um,
like it was not like the last year in Vibram, so it is 2016. And you see, we had to be
yeah,
before the industry. We had to come before, like we had to think before, because you
yeah,
are designing the compound, like you're doing the component. So you have to be more
yeah.
proactive. Yeah.
Yeah, I think being future thinking, and you never know, right? Like sometimes there are products that are just ahead of its time, and like sometimes they work in the future, sometimes they never get picked up, but doesn't mean they're bad or that they're not a great design. It's just I think sometimes they're ahead of their time. So
Yeah, we
um,
sold it like many years after. Also, the hybrid sold, like it was for trekking, but then it finished in the fashion industry. I still have this
yeah,
initial sketches, and I'm gonna put it in a frame. It's there in my
yeah,
studio because I think that was a
yeah,
really nice sketch. Like you can see the very, like the hand, which is really fast, and I used it as an example also all through my online course. I
mm.
showed all the process with that sold.
So I have a couple more questions for you. So if people are interested in whether it's the online course or kind of some of your past work, where can people find you, message you if they're interested, and what's the best place to reach you?
I think it's LinkedIn.
Okay.
LinkedIn is fine because now like the link of my course is difficult. It's called Komoda. You don't know how to spell it. I think the best, yeah, or it is my Instagram, which is dydesign.it, because it's Italy. But I think
Italy.
LinkedIn, I mean, I am having lots of connections from LinkedIn. It's my world. I'm having clients, like really clients over LinkedIn. It's incredible.
Cool. Well, that's a nice piece of advice for people to lean into LinkedIn. It's not just Instagram.
No, 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 no. LinkedIn is more, like you see all my works, you see the links and everything. I've made a nice page also for my studio, which is DY Design. I have it all there. Just click just write my name, LinkedIn, and it's just message me. That's the best thing.
Awesome.
Thank
Well, definitely people go check out Daphne's LinkedIn. Last question for you. This has become a closing tradition on this podcast, where I like to ask our guests if you can give somebody roses or flowers in your life who has helped you to get to where you are today. It could be multiple people, could be one person, past, present, or maybe even somebody that's helped you a long time ago or whatever. But who would you give your flowers to right now, who's really helped you in your life to get to where you are today?
my brother. I said it right away,
Is
right?
it just Yeah, you've mentioned your brother now a few times, and so it sounds like he's really had a tremendous impact on your life.
Yeah, first
Um, you
negatively,
know,
which made me grow, like because we had a very conflictual relationship where we have a very little difference of age, and he was a hyperactive boy with high intelligence and highly possessive and all that stuff. Like there are a lot of issues. But then I think he has been the one who really edged me and like also prepare me to life, which is not always, like you don't have always justice. It's not always fair. Like you're gonna be stepped over, you know. It's like a gym for life. And then he has been a very, very big support for my, like for my new life. To buy an apartment, he gave me, like just donated me some help so that I could open up a mortgage. Like he is like, I mean, of course, also my parents, but you just asked me and it just came my brother. So that's it.
yeah, for sure. No, I appreciate that. Sounds like you guys have a really special relationship together, which is nice to hear about. And so hopefully he continues to support you. You continue to support each
Yes.
other. And this has been amazing. It's so fun to reminisce a little bit. Like I said, you're the first guest who I've previously like directly worked with. So it's
Yes.
nice to reminisce a little bit and share some stories. Daphne, thank you for joining us on an Untold
Thank you.
Narrative,
It has
and
been great.
yeah, no, this has been a lot of fun. And so everybody go check out Daphne's work, go follow her on LinkedIn, and check out her websites and everything else.
Thank you.